Today we're going to be discussing 5 ways to get blurry backgrounds in your video, whether you're using a phone or a camera. You're welcome to Who, What, How Friday by Idon Studios, where we give you educational pieces on how you can become better videographers and video editors on the platter of who, what, and how. And I am Mr. Stu. On today's episode, we're going to be featuring how. So we're going to be talking about how you can get blurry backgrounds in your videos in just 5 ways. We understand that AI has made video generation process easier, and even persons who are just new to cinematography can create stunning looking videos. But those who use AI to generate better results are those who understand the basics of filmmaking. And one of the process is to understand how to work with factors to create blurry backgrounds in your videos. When you blur background in your videos, it makes the subject to stand out, and this is the idea of a properly shot composition. Among the several practical ways to create blurry backgrounds in your videos, these are 5 practical ways that you can engage in your next shoot, and you're going to create the absolute right blurry background for that video. The first is to open your aperture. When you open your aperture in your lens, it is synonymous to having your f-stop number in the lowest value possible that lens can support. For some entry-level cameras, they can give you an f-stop of 3.5. That is entry-level lenses. But for professional lenses that you would get, which I would recommend to every filmmaker, is to get professional lenses that support as low as f2.8, f1.8, f1.4, and if you've got the money, you can go for f1.2. So when your lens aperture is open, it has the ability to accommodate more lights and consequently also create a blurry background. So the smaller the f-stop number, the wider the aperture, and consequently the blurrier the background. The second way to blur background in your videos is to use a longer focal length. That is why even with your phone or your camera, if you use a lens that has a longer focal length, like say 85mm, we see how much attention it gives to the subject, thereby blurring the background. Because when you use a longer focal length, it forces the background to show blur. So this long focal length is synonymous to tighter shots. And when you shoot with this capability of lens, you get a blurry background. Now, the third way to achieve blurry background in your video is to move your camera closer to the subject. Now, when your camera you're shooting with, either your phone or your camera, is closer to the subject, it creates a ratio that favors blurry background. What is this ratio? It is the camera subject background ratio. If the distance between the camera and the subject is smaller than the distance between the subject and the background, it will force background blur. So if options does not favor you to get blurry background in your shots, ensure to try this trick out by bringing your camera closer to the subject in relation to the distance of the subject and the background. The fourth way to create background blur in your videos is by having your subject seated in a position that is distal from the background. So the farther your subject is from the background, the easier it is for your camera to create blur in that background. So it is also synonymous to having your camera closer to your subject. So this ratio favors these number 3 and number 4 concepts. So I will enjoin you when you're shooting next time. If you're shooting in a small room, I would implore you to have the camera closer to the subject more than the subject is to the background. So your camera should be positioned in the farthest part of the room, and your subject should be shrinked to be close to you in the camera, and the distance from the subject to the background should be more. This way you're forcing the camera to create blur, because subject background depth favors blurriness. So this brings us to number 5. The ways you can create blurry background in your videos. Use larger sensor cameras. You know, this sounds like an unfair advantage, but it is what it is. We can basically classify camera into 2 based on their sensor type. We have crop sensors and full frame sensor. So cameras that are full frame sensor, they have the natural ability to support blurry background easier than a crop sensor camera, because it makes separation easier and consequently creates a level of blurriness that is more visible than a crop sensor camera would show. Now, here is the final truth. You can have the best lens in the world and still get flat images. This is because you have defied these 5 rules I have given to you. So if you want to get blurry backgrounds in your images, videos, or pictures moving forward, I will enjoin you to observe these 5 rules, and you will get good blurry background in your videos that will make your videos inviting for those who are to visually consume them. Let us know in the comments, which of these ways have you been trying out, or are you going to be trying out in your next shoots to get blurry backgrounds in your videos? If this video was helpful to you, kindly give us a like, and if you want to see subscribing videos from us, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can get notified when we drop our next video. We're going to be doing this again next Friday. Continue to engage until we bring your way amazing episodes on Who What How Friday.